Hey, those ones are all come back another Poemass video. And we're gonna go over all these new Stumble units this month, and grids, all that stuff, right? Like skill, team comps, etc. So, alright, so starting with Ho, right? This unit, basically, it's a support, right? You got your good defenses, you got your good HP, right? You have Flame Charge that could buff your speed, which is otherwise relatively bad, but there's a lot of speed stuff for Ho, so you don't have to worry too much, honestly. Got Potion for heals, Sunny Day set Sun, so if you're running Ho with anyone, right, obviously you want to run Ho with any of those fire damage healers, or any grass type damage, or any units that can utilize Sun, although you also don't have to, because Ho, in of itself, is a pretty good support, even if you completely disregard the Sun part of its kit. I mean, well, you still need Sun to, like, make your trainer move work, right, work a bit better, right, to get the crit buffs on it. And then your trainer move gives your team move gauge acceleration, right? Gives speed, defense, special defense for your whole team by 1, and then gives crit by 1 as well in Sun, right? So a lot of times, if you do want to max out crit from 0 to 3, you would need an MP refresh on the trainer move, so there is that, right? Sync is not really relevant. As for your skills or passives, right? So you have Group Afflictor's Advantage, right? Raises your the attack, defense, special attack, special defense speed of all allies synced by 1 the first time you use a status move. Pokemon use status move in each battle, which in this case means Sunny Day, right? First time you use Sunny Day, all these stats plus 1 for your whole team. Team Sunbathe, there's 100% chance of restoring HP of all allies sync pairs when the user uses a move while the weather is sunny, so you heal when you do stuff in sun, which is cool. Sync Damage Guard gives your complete damage nullification after the first time you use your sync move, which is really cool, right? So anyways, let's talk a bit about the grid, I guess. And well, in terms of lucky skills, right, you could give them vigilance. I know he does have vigilance in like 3 out of 5, but also it costs you like 9 energy, and not only on 9 energy, like if you want to really get to it, it's like 9 energy here. Either you pick one of these 2 8 energies, right, and then you have to, probably the cheapest route is over here, 4 energy, so that's very, very expensive. I'd still give him vigilance, because he has a lot of really, really nice stuff on his grid, right? I don't think it's really worth spending energy picking up vigilance when you could just get it off a lucky skill instead, right? So I do think vigilance is probably better. If you really do want to pick it up, you could go for the other stuff, right? The status immunity, red interference immunity stuff, I guess is okay if you want, right? Healthy healing, maybe. I really don't think any of those are as good as, vigilance, right? So, anyways, in terms of 1 out of 5 grid, not too much you could do, right? Unflappable, pick that up is nice. MP refresh on your training move, that's really, really nice to have that 1 out of 5, because that's, again, very, very important if you want +3 crit for your team, right? Probably want to pick up speed over here as well, some defenses, HP, all that stuff, right? And the rest you could pick up as well, but if you want to save some orbs, then don't have to pick it up then, I guess. All right, where's the refresh on this? Reset? Oh, there we go. That's better. So at 2 out of 5 over here, all right? 2 out of 5. You probably still want to pick up your training move MP refresh regardless, right? You want a flame charge dashing team. This is really, really nice. Buff your whole team speed by 1, right? When you use attack move. Even though you do have +2 to +3 over here, +3 if you get the MP refresh, right? And then +4 with your passive coming in. With that first Sunny Day, right? You do want to, if you do want to max it out over here, you want to, flame charge dashing team 9 to get that extra +2, right? For units that have like inertia, ramming speed, that you want. But otherwise, if you don't need it, then you don't pick it up, right? Again, a lot of Ho-Oh's stuff depends on how much you need it. Your team needs it, right? And that's basically the same for most supports, right? There are a few supports that really just don't have anything on the grid. They're really just 1 or 2 ways to build their grids. But for units like Ho, there's a lot of ways to build a grid. If you need Sunny Day MP refresh, right? If you're fighting a longer battle or whatever, you go for that. Otherwise, right, you do have options like potions. You got Potion Master Healer over here, which is something, I guess, right? You have Friend Men 9. And Friend Care 9, right, which is one's for removing afflictions, one for removing static conditions. Again, if you need them, pick it up. If you don't, ignore, right, basically, right? There isn't too much stuff you could really pick up. It's just you pick 2 of these 3. 2 of these 3, I feel like, right, generally. Again, and which ones you pick up depends on what opponents you're facing, right, what units you're buffing. If your team really needs that extra speed, you want this. If you're fighting a longer battle that needs Sunny Day to be on longer, you pick up this. If you're fighting an opponent where they try to status you, try to afflict you or whatever, right, you pick up these, right? 2 out of 3. Pick your, not poison, but antidote? I don't know. Pick your potion. How about that? Anyways, at 3 out of 5. 3 out of 5, there's a lot of really, really nice stuff. You have Adrenaline over here, right? If you do have him 6-star EX, if you don't have him 6-star EX, maybe it's not the best idea to pick up, right? But you should 6-star EX him because he's really, good as a 6-star EX. Because not only do you have Adrenaline over here, you also have Team Give Me 5, which also buffs the attack, defense, barrel, all that stuff by 1 as well the first time you sync. So that turns it into, you could get +5 speed for a team if you get 1 MP refresh on your training move, right? And then you could also get +2 attack / special attack, good for topping any units off, right? Because a lot of units have X attack, X special attack, gets their attack stats to +4, then you could top it off with 1 Sunny Day and then 1 sync over here, right? So that's really, really nice to have. And then as for the rest, again, it really depends on what you're trying to do, right? I don't really care too much about stuff like this over here, right? Unless you're trying to like max it out for like a multiplier, or if you really, really, really need it for some, specific stage, right? These are, again, very, 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 very stage specific, right? And team specific. As for the rest, I would like Dashing Team, but it's also slightly unnecessary because like you got like +5 already, right? Assuming you got 1 MP refresh on your training move. It's not that big of a deal, but if you really just want to max everything out, then sure. But otherwise, maybe not, right? As for anything else, if you want the sun stuff, sure. I don't care too much about them. Personally, there are, again, some certain legendary gauntlet stages that really debuff your stats, or some champion stadium stages that debuff your stats that are really annoying, but it shouldn't be that big of a deal because you also buff your stats a lot. So like even if they are debuffing, it's not like they're getting it like under like 0 a lot of times, right? Just because of how many of those stats you're buffing it. By stats, I generally mean either speed or defenses, right? For support, because your attack, special attack stat does not really matter too much, right? So yeah, again, it really depends. You need Sunny Day, pick up Sunny Day. This stuff is okay. I just feel like generally some of this other stuff is a bit more useful, but if you want the potion stuff, you could pick potion stuff as well, right? Maybe one of these. If you want some of these down here, you could maybe skip Mass Healer and just pick up these 2, right? So that's if you want the potion stuff, but otherwise, again, you got Sunny Day here. And if you want Speeding Sun, you could do the Speeding Sun. If you want, where is it? Either one of these, you could do one of these. But again, it shouldn't be really that big of a deal, honestly, because you really do already buff a lot of that, right? So you can maybe do that. And again, really depends. Dashing Team, you get your Fractal Flame Charge. Or, something like Speeding Sun, Sunny Disposition, right? So, some stuff like that. So, yeah, anyways, that's Silver and Shiny Ho, right? Did I just say Silver and Shiny Ho? I mean, Morty and Shiny Ho. Alright, moving on, let's talk about Aaron and Vespiquen over here. So, Aaron and Vespiquen is very, very, very nice support, right? It's in the standard banner. You could, after the banner goes away, every new banner added will always have it in the permanent pull, right? Unless it's like specific, region specific or whatever banners. But outside of that, right? Let's go over it, I guess. All right. So in terms of your move, you have Attack Order, which does some damage. It's not going to be a huge like damage dealer thing, right? It's 3-gauge move, crystal land more easily, whatever, right? Heal Order heals your HP by 50%. You can only use it once, though. Also, it costs 1 gauge. So it's not that great of a heal. Defend Order buffs your defense by 1, right? So that's really, really nice. Your training move, Cool Right, raises attack of allies, sync pairs by 2, raises the crit of allies, sync pairs by 1, and then gives gradual healing with yourself. So this is really, really, really good. So you get, if you do get 1 MP refresh over here, right, that's max physical attack and the max crit for your whole team. So he is a max crit, max physical attack buffer, right, which is pretty nice, right? So moving on to its passives, you got Sature 9. So when a status move used by the user's Pokemon raises its stats only, right? So it doesn't apply to your training move. Only it really applies to Defend Order over here, right? It raises the same stats to your whole team. So every time you use Defend Order, it buffs your entire team's defense, not just yourself, right? group shared healing. When you heal yourself, it, you know, it heals your entire team by 20% of their max HP as well, right? And move gauge refresh, which is a 50% chance of giving you 1 gauge back every time you use a move. So yeah, in terms of stats, pretty good defenses overall. Speed's not the greatest. HP is pretty good. Attack sucks. So yeah, it's a physical support that could also max out defenses. So if you're wondering what teams to put in, just accordingly, any units that need the physical and crit buffs, that needs a really good tank, right? You could definitely put it in there, or someone that needs, you know, multipliers based on buffing attack, or not attack, defense or special defense, right? You could also do that. So, moving on to its grid. Oh, in terms of lucky skills, you could give them vigilance. All right, you could give them vigilance of lucky skills so they don't get, you know, hit by crits or whatever. So yeah, in terms of the grid at 1 out of 5, you really don't have too much. Stalwart, I'm betting so your defense don't get lowered, and then pick up some, you know, all the speed, HP, defense, nodes. Again, if you want to save, I guess you pick this up if you want, you know, don't want to get paralyzed. If you want to save on some orbs, right? But otherwise, moving on to 2 out of 5 over here. So 2 out of 5, you have some nice stuff. You have your biggest thing over here, which is your MP refreshing training move. That's the biggest node in your grid, arguably, right? And then you have, let's see, you have Quick Cure over here, which is really, really good. All right, Quick Cure is definitely very, very nice. If you're running him in Bug Zone, you could do the Insect Acceleration, Insect Healing stuff, but overall, you know, it's not that big of a concern. I don't think there's any Bug Zone teams you really want to run him on at the moment. Right? Guzma can max out all his stuff by his own. What's his face can do it as well, right? The Scavalier, right? Although he could help with defense stuff. Although, nah, you don't want him to help with defense buffs. You want him to help with attack buffs. Which in that case, you could just throw in any other random, you know, attack buffer. So it doesn't have to be Aaron. Obviously, Aaron, you do get the upside of, you know, being a bug type in Bug Zone, all that stuff. But it's not really special in that case. But as for some other stuff, you can do attack order, move gauge refresh. I would personally prefer defend order, move gauge refresh, though. Because, again, unless you're doing it in, like, Bug Zone or whatever, and you could really, really, really afford the gauges, then, okay, attack order, sure, fine, right? But otherwise, defend order, it's a 1 gauge spammable, right? Get some extra move gauge refreshes would be nice, because, again, one of its downsides is definitely the speed, right? Definitely the speed is a downside. It's not very, very fast, so that is something. And then as for the rest, just, again, unbending Stalwart, I guess. Maybe some stat nodes here and there. You don't have too much other really interesting stuff going for you. There's a speed plus 10 over here, which is nice. Pick up some speed. Again, he is a bit slow, all right? So, yeah, just pick some speed over here and some other stuff. Should be fine. At 2 out of 5. So at 3 out of 5, obviously you have the entire grid unlocked. And in this case, nothing really changes that much, right? You still want the, you know, MP refreshing train move. That's the big one over here. You can go for attack order staggering. This does, you know, 50% chance to flinch is definitely very, very nice, right? Team strengthening heal is nice just to get some extra offensive firepower. Obviously, not really that great for longer stages because they're really only just once, right? I don't care about this too much, but I mean, if you're trying to get to this, might as well, I guess, right? If you are EXing him, Catalyst is very, very good, right? The movement acceleration definitely helps a lot, especially since he is very, very slow, right? So you definitely want that. Natural Remedy, Quick Cure, you could pick these up if you really need it. Again, it really just depends on the stage that you're trying to, you know, fight, right? You could pick up Quick Cure, Natural Remedy. Healthy Buffer is really nice too. You know, the reduction on damage that you take on max HP is really, really nice, and especially since you could heal your HP back, so you could potentially have it trigger twice, right? Or even more times if you have more, you know, potion units on your team. Again, staggering is very, very nice if you're trying to, you know, flinch units, right? That could definitely be really good there, right? But if you are picking that, don't really have too much space to do other things to pick up, right? I guess. Can you even pick this up? No, you can't even afford that. Yeah. So yeah, if you do pick that up, you don't have too much, right? I guess precision pals, but it's only like this accuracy. I mean, if you need accuracy, then go for it, but it's generally not that big of a deal, right? Or again, a quick cure if you need quick cure, right? Stuff like that. Or if you for some reason don't need the MP Refresh trainer move, you have your offensive units can already +2, or at least get +2 attack, +1 crit. Then sure, you don't need that. Then you could, you know, instead either pick up the actually you can't. You're 1 short for healthy buffer. Wow, that kind of sucks. But you could pick up team strengthening heal though over here, right? So there are definitely options for you, right? Regardless. So yeah. Anyways, that's Aaron and Vespiquen. Moving on. We got Bertha Hippowdon, another, again, standard banner unit, right? So she's definitely very, very nice as well. If you look at her stats, she does have pretty good HP. The defenses aren't the greatest, but she does buff her defenses a decent amount. She does have really nice attack, and then her speed is relatively slow, right? So first of all, you got Sand Tomb over here, traps the opponent. You got Stealth Rocks, which is, it's a field effect, right? It lasts as long as any other field effect, and does rock type damage to your opponents every time they, well, do anything, right? If they do something, they get hurt by Stealth Rocks. Most opponents do have damage reduction on Stealth Rocks, pretty severe, so don't expect Stealth Rocks to do some real damage unless it's maybe against like some rock weak stages where you don't have the, you know, Stealth Rock damage reduction, right? Then you have Sandstorm, which is obviously Sandstorm, and then your trainer move, Quite Something, buffs defense, special defense +1 to yourself, buffs crit for your whole team by 1, right? Even though she's attack, by the way, not a support. And then raise your defense and special defense of all allied sync pairs by 1 in a Sandstorm. So that's really, really nice. You got defense buffs, crit buffs on your trainer move, right? And then your sync move, the power up, the tech innate over here is when you use it in Sandstorm, right? So you want Sandstorm up when you're nuking. Sand Summoner gives, you know, sand upon entry. Also protects yourself from Sandstorm damage. Sandslinger 9 debuffs the opponent's attack by 1 every time you hit them in Sandstorm. Poke Trap 5 increases damage that they take from being trapped, right? So she basically is a Sandstorm setting tank that can trap the opponent, debuff the opponent's physical attack, buff your team's defenses, your team's crit, right? And has a pretty good, you know, ground type nuke, right? So she does a lot of things in one. As for a lucky skill, you can go for Vigilance if you're trying to really just go for the tank thing, or if you go for Weather Warrior 3, right? If you want to go for the you know, big Sandstorm, you know, ground nukes, or Core Strike 3 if you don't want to spend the deluxe cookies. All right, so at 1 out of 5. You have Escape Artist is nice, don't want to get trapped, Wide Awake, although there really isn't that many stages that really put you to sleep, but yeah, outside of that, just pick up some, just like every node, every stat node, honestly. So yeah, you could save your orbs on the other Sandstorm power-ups or kind of whatever. At 2 out of 5, right, you have a lot of nice things. You have your trainer move MP Refresh, all right, which if you do get that MP Refresh, you could get +3 crit for your team, which is nice. Hidden Heal gives yourself gradual healing after you use your trainer move over here. You have Move Gauge Refresh on Sand Tomb if you want. You have Soothing Sand, which heals yourself in sand every time you use a move if you want. You could do Sands of Time over here as well, right? Obviously, in that case, you probably, you know, want to drop Sand Tomb. And as for some other stuff, again, Escape Artist if you really need that. MP for Stealth Rocks if for some reason you want that, I guess. Stealth Rock kind of sucks, honestly. If I'm being real, it doesn't really trigger any multipliers. It doesn't really do too much damage. It's just kind of bad. So I'd honestly rather just spend the extra energy on like some stat nodes like speed or whatever, right? Attack. If you're nuking, if you're not nuking, then you know, some defenses, HP stuff. All right, moving on to 3 out of 5 over here. So 3 out of 5. You have most of your good stuff you have there. MP Refresh and Sandstorm if you need that, right? You have, what is this? Not this one. Ah, there it is. Sandcastle, which has damage reduction. and sand, right? So you go for that. You're again trying to move. MP refresh is still there. Or you could ignore that and go for Team Sharp entry, right? While also having Sand Blaster. That's a that's a big sand sink nuke thing that they got going on. So you could do something like this. It's like a pseudo support slash nuker Bertha. If you want to go for like full nuker Bertha, obviously you could pick up these instead. You do miss out on the max crit, so you do need someone else. Well, I mean, you're going to bring someone else to buff Bertha's stats anyways, because Bertha doesn't buff her own attack. You need someone to buff Bertha's attack, right, for the nuke. So, yeah, there's that, right? So, alright, let's move on to some team comps, I guess, right, for Bertha over here. So here's something you could run, right? You could have Sygna over here maxing out Bertha's stats, and then you could have Giovanni, take advantage of the Sandstorm and do some pretty good damage over here. Obviously, you could swap out Giovanni in here for, like, basically any, physical not ground type, but, like, sand unit, right? Whether it's whether it's a Raihan or Archeops, right? What's the Olivia thing called again? Lycanroc. Like any of these sand units that use sand, right? Damage dealers. So any of those sand units, you could throw it in there, basically. Or if you want, you could do like Groudon too, right? Just for, I guess, just ground type damage. Cynthia's another Sandstorm unit, right? Just have Groudon do DPS, and you could have Bertha nuke, I guess, if you want, something like that. So yeah, there's a lot of options over here. Again, you could switch out Sygna for anything that could max out Bertha's attack and crit, right? So Bertha's team comps are pretty simple. Just anyone that could use these Sandstorms, right? And then someone that could max out Bertha's offensive stats. All right, moving on to Lucian and Girafarig over here. So Lucian Girafarig is another tech unit, psychic type, right? You have very, very good special attack over here. Your defense is kind of whatever. Your speed is very, very good, however, right? Your HP is kind of whatever too. You have a 1-gauge spam and confusion, which can confuse the opponent. You have X special attack over here to buff your own special attack. Growl to debuff the opponent's attack, and then your trainer move, Read It and Weep, gives you defense buffs for some reason, even though you're not really that much of a tank. You can take a few hits, especially physical hits, once you debuff the opponent's like attack enough. Like overall, this guy's not the best tank. Let's be real. Buffs your crit by 2, and then applies gradual healing. So you can max out your own crit. You could almost max out your own special attack, right? At least over here. And yeah, you have a sync nuke over here based on how much your opponent's special defense is lowered, right? The more special defense is lowered, the more powers of attack, obviously. Moving on, you have Stupefy 9, which debuffs opponent's special defense by 1 every time a move targeting the opponent is successful. You have Team Valor Hustle 9, 100% chance of raising speed of all allied sync pairs by 1 when it uses Pokemon uses a status move, right? And the pecking order, the more opponent's attack is lower, the more it powers up sync. So it's a big, big, big psychic nuker that could debuff the opponent's attack, debuff the opponent's special defense, basically the same debuffs that Palatine's Dawn has, and then you have speed buffs your whole team, right? Over here, which is really, really, really good. So yeah, in terms of lucky skill, if you are really nuking with them, you could go with the crit strike too, right? As usual. There really isn't any. I guess you'd go for the mind games of the deluxe cookies, but that's a bit hard to get. If you don't want to pick up ramp up and you don't want to bring another unit to support this guy's special attack, you could go with grand entry, right? +2 special attack, so you can max everything out yourself. But yeah, those are, I guess, a few options that you go for. At 1 out of 5 over here, right? You go for not too much. You have Dauntless. You could do Unflappable, Haste, I guess. Trainer move, MP Refresh if you want more defense for some reason, or the extra gradual healing once the first one runs out. Because usually, you spam these twice, you don't really get that second gradual healing, right? Just for like 1 turn. X special attack, MP Refresh. You want to max out your special attack by yourself, I guess. There are a few useless stat nodes that you could pick up. They're not really that big of a deal. And yeah, that's it, I guess. Again, Wide Awake if you're facing someone who puts you to sleep, which again, kind of rare overall to see. So moving on, 2 out of 5, you have some sync nuke power up nodes over here, right? You have your dominating sync over here. That's an extra 20% if you debuff the opponent's attack. It could be like -1 attack and you still get the 20%, right? Special attack plus 20 over here is cool, I guess. You could do the... Actually, which one's cheaper? Oh, this one's cheaper, yeah. Go for a Sync Move power-up over here. Alright. There's another Sync Move power-up node over here as well. You could do Burst in if you want your first Sync to, like, guarantee crit. Assuming you're not going to do Confusion at all. Confusion Fail Fighting is a meme. Maybe. As for some other stuff, if you're running in Psychic Terrain, you could do this to get some extra move gauge acceleration charges. Weird Recovery if you really want to heal in Psychic Terrain, but generally I don't really care about those two. As for the rest of the 7 energy over here, you could do Dauntless, Haste, whichever one, right? If you're getting some trouble over there on Flappable, if you need that, but otherwise there's a few speed nodes you could pick up. All right, a few speed nodes. Just pick up some speed nodes, I guess. Right. So moving on to 3 out of 5 is obviously where you get the full grid. At the full grid, you have a lot of really nice stuff. You have Aggravation on Confusion if you really want to confuse the opponent for some reason. Although he's not that great of he's good at getting the opponents confused, but he just after the opponent gets confused, he doesn't really do anything with that confusion generally. Right. So kind of pointless, in my opinion, at least. You have Adrenaline over here, which, makes it so you get the second sync up. Champion same before they get their first, obviously. Assuming you're not picking up any sync move countdown stuff on the opponent. You could pick up the Catalyst if you want, Ramp Up if you want, right? Which is kind of awkward since you're picking up that Imperial Fresh over here as well. For Catalyst, this is just like a more like weird like support-ish Lucian, right? Getting all the support stuff rather than the big Lucian nuke thing that you could go for, right? If you are going for a more nuke Lucian build, you want the where is it? You want the single power up those, right? There's a lot of them in many different places. Although I'll still pick up Catalyst. Catalyst is just so good, right? And like Adrenaline maybe over here. Dominating Sync would have to make us sacrifice one of these, right? Which is sure fine, right? Not a big deal. So you can do something like that, which is really, really nice. Healthy Super Hit if you want the extra super effective up instead, right? You could maybe drop this for that. So yeah, that's Lucian, I guess, right? In terms of what team comps you want to run him with, he's really, really nice to run with Anime, right? Because of the fact that Anime does have those, special attack, or not special attack, special defense multipliers, like Brain Teaser, Smarty Pants, right? Since she doesn't debuff it herself, you could have Lucian in there to help her debuff the opponent's special defense over here, which is good. And then you could have X special attack all to max out, Lucian's special attack, right? And then obviously you want, I don't know, you don't really need Sabrina over here. You could do, I don't even know what you could do here. You could do like a Dawnberry, right? Just to speed up the process with Lucian. You can do New Year's Sabrina for the extra special attack up next. You could do whatever here, honestly. Lear, who cares, right? Although you do want someone to, legitimately tank over here, but yeah, there's just a lot of ways you could run them in Psychic. Obviously, you could swap Anime out for like Bianca if you want Psychic Terrain that way. If you do have Bianca in there instead, though, you do want something like a Sabrina, right? So Bianca can max out crit, max out special attack, right? All that stuff. Make stuff a bit easier on Lucian as well, right? So yeah, that's another option. And then Lucian, you could just run him like instead of a Koga, right? You could just run him as like a Koga alternate, where you just run him as a special defense debuffer. You could just run him with any like special attacker, right? Any special attacker, you run him in there, he works, right? So I guess that's another option that you could go for over there, right? So all right, moving on to the last Stumble unit this month, right over here. Well, it's not going to be this month. There's probably going to be something else at the end of this month. But anyways, that aside, right, SS Giovanni and Nidoking over here, right? So this guy's a damage dealer, pretty straight up, right? Not too much to talk about him. He's pretty straightforward as a unit, right? He's a striker, good attack stat. Speed's not the worst, not great either. The other HP's okay. Their stats suck. And you have Mega Kick, Iron Tail, Poison Jab is your 3 damage dealing moves. Obviously, each one of them a different type, being Ground, Steel, and Poison. And if you're wondering why are they 4 gauge moves, it's because of the skill. Hit the cast 5, which increases the move gauge cost for each, move he has by 1, but also gives them an extra 50% boost in their BP, which is very, very, very nice. It's just like a cheat code to get like 3 gauge moves, like to like be actually better. So yeah, Mega Kick over here, they're all pretty straightforward. It's ground type because of his other passive, Giovanni's Cunning, turns normal type moves into ground type moves, and the moves never miss, so you don't have to worry about the low accuracy. Same thing with Iron Tail, don't have to worry about the low accuracy on Iron Tail either. There's 30% chance of debuff the opponent's defense with Iron Tail as well, but no one like really cares about that much that part too much. I mean, don't get me wrong, it's good. If you can debuff the opponent's defenses, being a physical damage is really nice. Poison Jab, 30% chance of poisoning the opponent as well. Again, you're not really relying on the poison to do anything. It doesn't have any poison multipliers, but it's just something that exists. Will the Plains, your trainer move, gives you +6 attack, right? Gives you crit hit next, and then gives super effective up next. So that's very, very nice, obviously. Your sync move is whatever, right? And yeah, as for your other passive, you have max double down, extra 50% damage to max moves that are super effective. So this guy is the super effective machine, right? Being his 3 types are rarely found types. Also, another important thing to point out, he is Johto. He's a Johto unit, Johto theme skill, right? He's a Johto unit. So yeah, in terms of your lucky skills, you could do Crit Strike 2, or you could do super whatever 3 super effect, whatever the super effective up 3 thing, right? Which applies to both the sync move and all the other stuff, right? Which is nice because again, most people are probably going to be using him on super effective ups or super effective stages, right? For the most part, because he's really good with those different types. So all right, his grid at 1 out of 5. As usual, don't have too much. You just have the move gauge refresher on these moves, right? And then the power-ups on these moves as well. Mega Kick, Mega Kick, Mega Kick. Got a speed note over here, which is cool. I guess Sand Shelter if you're doing sand for some reason. Otherwise, I don't know. Either aren't really useful. I guess you could get an MP refresh on your training move. So like if you're like flinched or put to sleep, you could use another one to pass a turn and get an extra super effective up, I guess, for MP refreshing your training move. But or like a guaranteed crit on like another like sync coming on up, right? But generally you don't want to do that. You just want to, if you're not flinched, slept, frozen, you just want to keep attacking, right? For the most part. There's another speed note over there, and that's basically it, right? Headstrong if you need that, if someone's trying to lower your attack, right? Obviously you could take out a few stat notes for that. And again, you can also drop these if you're not using these moves. At 2 out of 5. At 2 out of 5. You have some nice stuff. You have super duper effective 2 over here. Poison Jab's got its stuff. Iron Tail's got its stuff, right? You got double down 3 for your sync. Max super preparation is really nice as well. Gives you an extra super effective up. Next, right? Searching Sand if you want to run them in sand, extra 20% damage. So first of all, Searching Sand 2, that's just free damage in sand, right? Super duper effective 2, also free damage if you're fighting super effective up. And then the rest, I guess max super preparation as well, right? Actually, free, basically free. Super effective up next. And then the rest really depends on what you're running. If you're running a Mega Kick grid, right? Pick up the attack +20 over here, Mega Kick move gauge refresh, I guess. Or if you want the double down for your sync nuke, right? A bit. He doesn't get his like big stuff yet. Hey, Mirk's at 3 out of 5. I would prefer something like this and just sync with export personally, right? So that's that. If you are going for Iron Tail, just Iron Tail power-ups, I guess. On roll on Iron Tail is cool. Move gauge refresh if you need that. As for Poison Jab, you have super duper effective 3 on Poison Jab over here. You got some other, there's more Poison Jab nodes that you could pick up. So again, it really just depends on what you're running. And if you're not, if you're running him, like for example, if you're running Giovanni, if you're running like Iron Tail Giovanni, you probably don't want Surging Sand because you probably want like Mawile there instead of a sand unit. Then that could probably free you up for a bit more stuff, right? Maybe you could pick up this attack plus 20 on top of picking up, you know, some Iron Tail power up nodes, right? That would be nice. So yeah, I guess that's the only one. Because honestly, Poison Tail you could still run in sand, right? Because I mean, it doesn't buff ground type moves; it buffs all your, you know, moves, right? Non-sync moves and max moves, and poison. So you can still do like Surging Sand and poison, honestly. All right, 3 out of 5 over here. Let's see, what do we have? We have well, everything. There's an extra thing that you could run over here, which is like a Sync Nuke version, right? You could do that. Get the Sync Move power ups in there, right? If you want Max Quake, you could also pick up Max Quake. Except it's a little expensive, so you might have to drop one of these, maybe? Wow, you can't afford it all? Damn, straight up. Okay, never mind then. There we go. Okay, we could afford it like that. Barely, but we can. This is a weird... You got the Sync, got Max Super Preparation. This is obviously for much faster stages, right? There's not a lot of other interesting things that you could really fit in here, right? But yeah, I'm not a huge fan of picking up Max Quake personally. I mean, it's funny seeing the big numbers off of the max move, but otherwise, right? If you want to go for a more purely nuke oriented, right? If you have EX Giovanni, you could go for something like this. Although again, this nuke's good, right? It's not bad or whatever. I just prefer sync with the EX support, especially with someone with max moves, right? Especially someone with max move, I much prefer just sync with the EX support, get the EX support buff on these max moves, right? Which are really, really nice. As for the rest, there's like 7 more. You could pick up like something, I guess. I don't really know. I can't really put make kick power ups, whatever, or speed buffs. There we go. All right. But yeah, that's like a ground Giovanni if you want, right? That's focused on nukes. As for Poison Jab, you got much more stuff here. Poison types, right? You got Max Ooze down here. Max Ooze I would definitely try to pick up, though, right? Because, you know, this poison damage is weakest, right? So you do want to pick that up, I'd say. Surging Sand if you're running it in Sand. Max Preparation would be definitely very, very nice to have as well. I would not be syncing with him, again, you know, if I am running Poison Giovanni. Super duper effective can't really afford, but that's fine. I think all this other stuff is better. This is 30%, this is 30%, this is only 20%, right? If you're looking at percentages, this is also 20%. But I guess there's an argument for picking up super duper effective over Surging Sand just because you won't have to, you're not tied to Sandstorm yet, but all the Sandstorm units outside of like Aceroll and Tech Boot Ups are pretty good, so it's not like a bad thing to pick up, you know, a Sand unit on your team. So there is that. As for Iron Tail, right? Iron Tail, you really don't have too much. Iron Tail is just OP in of itself, basically, right? You just pick that stuff up, pick super duper effective up, I guess. You could do critical crit if you want. If you don't want to like bring another crit buffer, you can just do this, and then like every time you crit, you just get another crit next, which is slightly funny. Or you just get the extra attack plus 20, and then boom, another Iron Tail power up. Or if you want the honor roll, although Mawile buffs, Mawile, or not buffs, Mawile debuffs some defenses anyways, so it's not like that big of a deal. Max Super Preparation, oh, that's also an option as well, right? Don't forget, as I almost forgot. So you could also do something like this, is also nice, right? So anyways, looking at this guy's team comps, right? There's a lot of things you could run. You could run, obviously, Ingo if you want, ground type damage with the extra Surging Sand over here, and then you Groudon for more ground damage. You could swap Groudon out for like any other ground thing, right? Whatever. So very, you know, very, very narrow of a field. It's like Groudon, Cynthia, Bertha as a nuker, right? You could replace Ingo with Bertha, although you could also run the both. So yeah, there's that. You can also do like May if you really want, I guess. Ground Gladian. So yeah, that's for ground, I guess. As for poison, I'd run the same thing over here. You could maybe swap Maxi out for like Alistair, right? Because Alistair also has max ooze, so you could throw like 2 max oozes out there, and then Alistair's, you know, bomb them with the sludge bombs. That's also nice. Or you could do instead Koga with the poison nuke is also an option. So those are cool, I guess. I mean, poison types, not too many options, but there's a few that are okay-ish, right? I guess Plumeria if you really want for some reason. And then Steel, obviously Mawile, right? Mawile over here, and then you can still run and go over here, I guess, if you really want. Or you could just run it something like Sonya, which I think is a bit better in this case, right? Gets the defense debuffs in there, you know, faster, right? Also, you know, helps buff everyone, I guess, basically. I don't know, Sonya's good. Anyways, that's really this one, I guess. Hope you all enjoyed. I'm guessing in the comments down below. Like and enjoy this video, subscribe to our channel for some more Pokemon Master content. So guys, in the next one then.